have two questions for you. I think firstly, how has the party membership and the number of volunteers changed now that you guys have spent more than 2 years in Parliament? Second question is, at this point, what do you think will be the key issues that will surface during the next GE, and do you have any idea what you'll be campaigning on?
Okay, I will answer the first part. Maybe I ask Hazel to answer the second part on the bread and butter issues and all that, the policy issues. Is that okay, Hazel?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of our party, as I say, we are now trying to rally the troops, okay, more. Over the years, of course, because there's no election, the participation among members naturally has stagnant at some levels. But as over the last 6 months, as the members can see that the general election is coming very soon, we have a big pickup in the participation of the members already. And with the new CEC and the new focus, for the past 2 years when Francis was around, he spent a lot of time putting in the structures for the party, and that's very important. But with the new CEC, with this new focus on the election, many members are coming back. Many members are keen to know which GRC, which SMCs we are participating in, and how are we going to organize all the activities of that. So we have seen a big pickup in the participation of our members. Yeah.
I believe your question, the second part of your question was what are the issues that we'll be campaigning on. By its very nature, election strategies will be changing all the time, right? So all I can say is, as of current moment, we expect ourselves to be actually campaigning based on more bread and butter issues, along the lines of what we have been championing for the past 2 to 3 years: jobs for Singaporeans, housing, affordability, and in line with our party values, we intend to focus primarily on progress with compassion, this team. Now, progress will actually represent the more progressive issues like, for example, freedom of information, diversity, and compassion part will be more on social safety nets and so on. So these are the two main areas that we expect to be campaigning on.
Hi, this is Shalin from CNA. Earlier on, you guys talked about the mention of an opposition alliance. So wondering, have there been any talks going on? And, what would be the aim of this opposition alliance? Thank you.
As you probably know that, thank you, Sharon, for your question. As you probably know, some parties had already started to form an alliance themselves, but PSP is not a party to that yet. Okay, but in the future, when they approach us, as I said just now, we will proactively facilitate the forming of an alliance among the opposition parties. An alliance is desirable because we should, I think, align some of the messages, election messages, as an opposition group. Okay, so I think that is one of the most important new things we want to do. The opposition, it has always been very cooperative with one another. As you can see, over the last 2 elections, there was an absence or near absence of three-corner fight. Right? That is likely to continue. But if there is an alliance, we don't know what form it will take yet, then it is likely that there will be more room, that there will be new cooperation things that will come out. Yeah. So, but PSP is not involved yet in the deep discussion with the other parties, but they have sent out feelers to us. Yeah.
Okay, just a slight detour. Okay, my name is Kimberly. I'm from South China Morning Post. I just wanted to ask if the party has filed any parliamentary questions about Redoubt Road. I mean, it's something everyone is talking about right now, and just wanted to find out like some thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Kimberly, for your question. As we have Hazel and I have demonstrated in Parliament over the last 3 years, whenever there's an issue that concerns Singaporeans, especially an issue that's as important as the Rider Road issue, we'll definitely be filing questions going forward. But at the moment, we are still doing our research. You know, when we approach a matter in Parliament, we don't want to be rash. We don't want to make any accusation until we've done our research, more research. Some research has been done already, and there's of course a lot of information now in the social media already. So we are also verifying those information before we decide what questions we want to ask. But I can assure you, July 3rd Parliament will be interesting. Does that answer your question? Yeah. But other than that, actually today we will try, of course Rider Road is a very popular issue, I have to answer you, but if not, try to restrict today's questions to CEC and also to the general election. Although general election is also not much, but just a general in that area. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Vanessa from CMA Digital here. So I just want to check, Mr. Leong, just like you mentioned that over the next 6 to 8 months, we can expect to see some plans, more interesting plans from the PSP. Can you give us sort of a curtain raiser? Like what kind of plans are these? Something that we're going to see in the next, is this related to the next G? We could also possibly expect more details this year.
Thanks, Vanessa, for your question. As I said just now, this CC is focused on the general election, the next general election. So there are a lot of things we are already planning in the pipelines. But unfortunately, at this stage, none of the plans are finalized yet. So that's why I say, but once they are finalized, and those plans will be finalized in due course, it'll be interesting. And we will let you all know when the timing is right. Yeah.
Understand a little bit more about your strategies and the plans going forward. If you could just share a little bit more, whether you have concrete details of your plans, at least for the next couple of months.
Of course, okay. One of the main things that we are doing now is, of course, to finalize our possible candidate slate. Okay, we intend to be a major party, even in the next election, just like the last one. We as an opposition party, we fielded the most candidates, right? So we will put up similar number of candidates in the next election. So that is one of the things that we are doing, and if there's any confirmation, finalization of some plans and names along that line, we'll be making our announcement at the appropriate time.
Jean from the Straits Times. I was just wondering, sorry, I know you were pressed on it earlier, but do you have any specific idea of how many GRCs or SMCs you're going to field candidates for, and where those constituencies might be?
Okay. Thanks for the question, Jean. But like what I answered, Vanessa, all these things are still in the works now. Okay, we have not finalized anything yet. But you can be sure that we will still field a sizable number of candidates. So for all those GRCs that we have, the wards that we have contested the last time, most probably will still be there. Okay. How we will finalize our plans would also depend on the timing of the next GE. If the GE is called in 2 months or 3 months' time, it will be very different. Okay, so it depends first on the timing. Then after that is the boundaries, the new boundaries that the election department is going to put up. And finally, of course, how many of our members and volunteers, force that we can build up, because every GRC, SMC you compete in, you need a lot of people. Okay, so we need to look at all those things before we can finalize our plans and keep you posted in the next 6 to 8 months.
Can we check if Dr. Tan has any plans to run in the next GE? Sorry, I know you wanted a break today, but...
Hello. You know, in politics, certain things we tell, certain things we don't tell. So it's based on the circumstances and also the situation. As for me, I always say, as long as I am relevant, I'll be there. I never run away from a fight. And 2025 is a very challenging. And I am, so far, still very, very prepared for 2025.
I think Dr. Tan mentioned that PSP is seen as an old man army, right? So how will PSP be garnering for the younger Singaporean votes and in the next GE? And assume that Dr. Tan may be running for the next GE, but maybe taking a back seat because Mr. Leong will be the one leading the party, right? So how will the votes, how will PSP be garnering for the votes for those firm supporters of Dr. Tan?
Okay, this one
Thank
I
you.
You know, in politics, we look after everybody. You see, when I say that my party is an old party, it's the truth. When I started the party, the only people who came forward were my friends and my old PAP members of Ayer Rajah. But having said that, as a politician, you look after everybody. You see, so that's why we look for the young, the old, even the able, and sometimes even disabled people if they're capable. There's no harm in bringing them in because every voice in Parliament is important. You see, so I will not say that we're only concentrating on the very young or very old. It's a concept for all. Yeah? And I think that is where we are heading. So you see the change, my first CEC, second and the third. Change will come gradually. The very young ones, you may not see them now. It's because we still have to see whether they are capable enough to hold positions. And we will monitor them. We will actually not look after them, we will put them to the ground and see how they fare. So I expect in the next general election, it will be a complement of young, old, and if in fact all races, or even we expect some of the permanent residents who became citizens and they want to take part also can. All races. We have, if you go back to our NISUN, we have fielded English people, Indians, Malays, Chinese, all. So we are a party for all. Okay, we are not only confined to old or young.
Although Dr. Tan mentioned just now that actually it's true that we started off as a party with a strong support base of more like the Merdeka generation, you know, and all that. So, but I think over the last 4 years, our party has, it is difficult to prove until the next election. Our party, I believe, has cultivated a broader base of support. Okay, even I think that's partly because of our outreach activities on the ground, and at the same time, Hazel and I had presented various policies, and some of these policies have resonated with the younger Singaporeans as well. In particular, our last year's motion on the housing prices. After that, a lot of the young people, and even maybe Hazel can elaborate, at the recent NUSS Political Society, right? The seminar, there were lots of questions from the youngsters directed at Hazel about housing and all that. So I think as we start to talk about more issues, like for example, right from our party's founding, we have talked about lowering the voting age to 18. There's a very popular, there's a policy that a lot of youngsters support as well, and we reiterated that policies a number of times in Parliament over the last 3 years. So as we talk about issues that resonates with the young people and also with different segments of the Singaporeans, including the people who lost their jobs, and people who wants their retirement to have more retirement funds, and more funds in their Medisave and all that. So we have actually communicated a number of policies that I think PSP today is actually a party with a broader base of support. Yeah, we are quite confident about that. Yeah. Hazel, you want to add on to that? You anything to say? No? Okay.
Actually, just look around. You look around now, a lot of our people are very young. And actually, our young people are really manning the whole operations. And we have restructured the whole PSP, and we have encouraged many young people to step forward. In fact, all these things, all this whole place, and actually the running, all very young people. And I feel very old when I see them, but I'm proud of them.
Hi, Matthias from Mothership. Mr. Leong, I just want to revisit your mention of an opposition alliance. So my questions are, how do you envision how this opposition alliance will look like? And do you think it will even be possible for this alliance to include the WP?
Thanks for the question, Matthias. With regards to WP, of course, I can't comment on that. For how the PSP has got some, or I have some thinking about the opposition alliance or that. I think there is there are pros and cons, but I think there are many pros that can be pushing the parties towards an alliance in the next election. But nevertheless, right now, as I said just now, we have not started discussion with any of them. Okay, so they have kept me informed, but we have not started any discussion. So at the moment, I can't say what form or how this alliance will take shape. Yeah. Sorry, Matthias. I will update you whenever there are new ideas. Okay.
But you also must remember, Workers' Party is so much older than us, 60 over years. We only 4 years. I think we have to respect the Workers' Party. Okay.
I have two questions. So the first question is, Mr. Leong, like in the next G, like building on Jean's question, where will you be contesting? And do you plan to continue contesting in the GRC? And for the second question, so my colleague has worked on the story, and political experts have said that you bring a more confrontational style to Parliament. So what are your thoughts on that, as someone who is now the top of the party? Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for your question, Charlene. Okay. There are two questions. One is, what is our plan for the next election or that? The second is on my parliamentary style. Right? So on the first question, as Dr. Tan has said, we are still in the works, okay, and the strategy will not finalize until very close to the election. So I can't say right now where I will stand, whether I'll stand in the GRC or SMC. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. In terms of my parliamentary style, I would think that the word confrontational, of course, is coined by some analysts, okay, or some commentators outside. So it really depends on how you look at it. One is, okay, if you think that every time I pursue a minister for a definitive answer, and every time I answer the speaker in order to get an opportunity to talk, that is confrontational, then I cannot say anything, because I would think that that is the basic duties of a parliamentarian. Okay, you cannot just ask a question, the minister didn't answer you, and you just sit down, right? You have to ask another question, right? And then if the speaker say, no, Mr. Leong, let another MP ask a question first, then I will say, no, the minister haven't answered my question. So I think as a parliamentarian, I should push for it. Okay. So if you say that it's confrontational because of that, then I think it's really, I leave it to the judgment of the Singaporeans. Okay. As to my parliamentary style, I would admit that initially maybe I can be more polished. Okay, but as I know the parliamentary procedures more, I think that would be better and better. Yeah. Because there are many parliamentary procedures that make it quite difficult for us to make our to put our point across actually. So that's why sometimes it may be a bit awkward, but I think over time we have understood, both Hazel and myself have understood the processes more, and I think our style or my style should appear to be more polished going forward. So in terms of confrontation or not, I think I really leave it to the Singaporeans to decide.
These are all labels thrown at him. And I know.
Hi,
I was
Mr.
in the
Leong.
House. Just 1 minute, I just want to clarify about his confrontation. These are all labels. The government is very smart. They want to label you so that everybody would have that in their mind. This fellow is very naughty. This fellow is confrontational. So please, you must be more discreet. Sometimes it is not confrontation. He's trying to get an answer. The style is different, that's all.
I'm Anwar here from Berita Harian.
Hi.
As it stands right now, PSP does not have an elected member in the parliament as compared to WP. And what do you think is the challenge for PSP to have an elected member come the next general election? Yeah, if you can share, what are some of the challenges that you face or you're about to face as compared to a seasoned political party such as WP? Yeah.
Thanks for the question, Anwar, but let me clarify. You're asking what kind of obstacles we'll face as a relatively new party to get ourselves elected, right? Yeah. Yeah, of course, I mean, WP or even SDP, they are parties with longer histories. Especially WP is as old as PAP, right? You take the Labour Front as the precursor of WP, okay, from David Marshall time. So it's actually same time or older than PAP. So of course they have a lot of history and all that, and as a result of that, of course they have also endured a lot more hardship, or a lot more. They have a lot more experiences over the not so easy political history of Singapore in the past. So as a result, over time, WP, and even WP has kind of become the default opposition party. Right? So in a way, this is good for our overall the development of democracy in Singapore, as long as WP is leading there, and there's still room for other parties to come in, as I say, as the democracy matures. I think we should be grateful that WP and SDP was there when no other parties were there. Okay? So even SDP, we wish them well. And all the other new parties also, we wish them well, because there's enough room for everybody. I don't see any obstacles in our way, if we, because we are a new party. I think, especially for PSP, compared to other new parties, we have the advantage of having Dr. Tan, as I said just now, bringing with him the values that PSP can continue to use to get the votes from the Singaporeans, and also the resources that Dr. Tan has brought to us, the experience and all that in training us. Okay. So actually, PSP, I would say we are actually in a very advantageous, we are in a good position, okay, to be able to have a good try at putting our candidates into Parliament next round. And last round, we have already demonstrated that we were almost there. But of course, in election, there's no such thing as almost. You lose means you lose. Okay? So although we are NCMPs, we appreciate the opportunities that we were able to speak out for Singaporeans in the Parliament. But of course, we will try very hard the next round to be elected in the Parliament. And given that I think the ground now is probably there are a lot of issues that Singaporeans have become aware of. It may be slightly more positive generally for the opposition as well, but of course we can't say. In politics, things changes very fast. So really we don't see any obstacle. The only thing that, as I said right from the beginning, that PSP wanted to do now is to ensure there are members and volunteers, that enough of them willing to support us, not just in 3 GRC, maybe 4 or 5 GRCs, you know, that if we have enough support, PSP will come out even stronger in the next election.
Do you think there is any, not just a bit of teaser, any star characters or personality that you have already, that you have already attracted to join PSP, the young ones, or from some ministry or some organization that you would like to share with us today? Yeah, thank you.
Doc, you want to comment there?
I already told you that something in politics we can tell, something in politics we won't tell. The other thing is just to take a point from Manwai. Actually, we are working towards to be the party of first choice by Singaporeans. So that's where the party is now restructuring. So we want Singaporeans to look at PSP as a party worthy of support. That is a big challenge for us. And Manwai, Hazel, and these young people will have to work together so that when you go to the polls, you cross. You don't have this, oh, because I don't like PAP, I don't like Workers' Party, I take PSP. No, you go there, PSP. Okay?